Hello everyone and welcome to my video. So today we're going to talk about the curriculum I'm going to use for my final project and also the technology that I'm using specifically for my project. I actually am using Google Forms is the technology I'm going to focus on for my final project, and also I actually use Google Forms on a lot of my content throughout the year, but I'm going to specifically show you the first unit I am using it for, which is actually prehistory, since I'm teaching Global 1, and I'll show you how I do this in my classroom. All right. So firstly, when I'm talking about prehistory, basically I'm kind of talking about from basically unwritten history all the way to the year 2500 BC, and this is what I usually do for class is that when I go through the PowerPoints, I have a lot of material, and then I use the Google Forms to kind of assess the student's understanding. So if I am going from the current slide, so hold on, let me show you from back in the first slide. I can basically, what I do is I go through the entire PowerPoint, and as I'm teaching, I'm always having different activities posted throughout. I have information, different things highlighted, and then I have certain questions, guided questions that are happening throughout the PowerPoint as well. But at a certain point, when I finish the section, what I do is I always put in a Google form. So what I do is usually my expectation is that I would have the end of class reflection would be here, and what happens is students will have this actual PowerPoint slide on their what we call Canvas, which is basically on their iPads, and they can kind of interact with it, and they'll have this link specifically to them, and what happens is if they do this, if they click on this link, it sends them right to the Google form, and I'll show you what that looks like. So I actually have two of them have been created already just for this one section. So the first one is actually here. So what I do is I have specific questions that go along with the PowerPoint that are very overarching questions, almost like my objectives that students should be able to do or answer by the end of the class. And what happens is I can actually give them make it like a quiz style. So what happens is I can give total points, and each question will have a specific number of points. And what happens is if I make it an essay style or short answer style, students will then have the ability to answer the question, and I can look at what their responses were. So for me, what I like, since this is already a mock one that I've done already, I have responses already submitted to me, and what I have to do now is look at the answers, and then I give them grades based on that. And what happens is after it's been completed, I can they get sent an email, and it tells them that this is the grade that they've gotten for this quiz. And I've done the same thing for the next section as well. And I think when you're looking at some of the specific problems that you may face with this is that if you're doing more different subjects, like if it was math or science and you're trying to have more calculations, it'll probably be more difficult for students to show work. I think that's probably the hardest thing to do in this aspect, is because in Google Forms they're mainly focusing on usually written answers or even multiple choice answers, and it's hard for them to show how they got to that point. Usually I think Google Forms is best used for English and also social studies, because basically what you can do is you can input documents and have students read the document and answer the question. So for example, for the next section of that same PowerPoint I was showing you, I actually embedded a document, a primary source document, more like a secondary source document, that students will now read the document and then answer the questions based on that. And when I also already created a video for my students, and I actually used this as a way to assess their learning. So the strengths, I believe there are many for social studies and for English, but the weaknesses or the problems that you can face are when you're doing this more for math or science. All right, everyone. Well, thank you for watching my video.